have such a baby brain. How can they make that decision?
I
Like
know, right?
we were that young and we were having to make those decisions. But like I'm looking at my youngest now who appears to be more of a baby because he is the youngest.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, how in the world can you decide right now what you want to do for the rest of your life?
I know.
That's a lot of pressure.
Too
You're
much pressure.
yeah. So whatever I need to do to lift that pressure is fine.
Exactly. I think there are some kids though on the flip side that just know what they want to do.
Absolutely.
I had a great friend in high school that was like right out of the box. She was like, I'm getting into psychology. Like I need, she already knew she was going to 4-year college. She knew where she wanted to go for her major. She knew where she was going to go to grad school. And I was like, good for you. Like I just
Yeah.
got shoved into college and it was not, it took me forever to finish. I finally did it, but it was like, it was not good. It took me a while. And again, like, for what, like I'm glad that I have a degree, but I don't use my degree and it's not in
Mhm.
anything specific like a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that. So okay, so you were a single young teen mom and did a little bit of went into college for a little bit and then out in the workforce and yeah. And so did you have like the support system? Because I feel like a lot of times when you hear about young moms, like sometimes the support system isn't necessarily there for them um, for whatever
Well,
reason.
I was single. My parents were great.
That's
The best that
awesome.
they could. I had never, no one in my family had ever even been divorced. So to have a child out of wedlock in the Bible Belt, like it was just so disappointing. However, they were really supportive and they helped me. But I had to have a job, and I had a job during the day and at a doctor's office, and I babysat at night to make extra cash. I would
Wow.
take my son with me so he could play with the kids while I did bath time and cook
Yeah.
dinner until I met my husband, and he was like, "You are worth more than that. You cannot go babysit for 5 hours a night for $30." Like, but
Right.
I didn't. I would save that cash so that we could go do fun things, and then I would have the job so I could have health insurance and
Right.
the adult things. And then my husband worked for a security company, a big name security company, and something happened with his employment that made him like a
Yeah.
subcontractor. He wasn't
Okay.
an employee anymore. So he could go work for any company. And
Right.
he started working for some local companies. And I was working at the time in a financial advisor's office. And we kind of had the realization that he was doing all of this for these other companies, but he could
Right.
just be doing it for himself. So he decided we would start a business. And I even said to him, okay, so in 6 months, if this doesn't work out, then you'll have to get a job maybe at the railroad because that's the thing here, or,
Yeah.
and carry the insurance, and then I'll figure out maybe what I can do.
Right.
And 6 months later, I had to go part time because we were so busy. And 6 months after that, I had to go very, very, very part time until I realized that all we had to do was sell 2 extra jobs a month to cover the health insurance. And so I quit. So we have worked
Wow.
together in our business for the past 13 years.
Wow. That's so interesting. And I have to tell you, in my family, there's a lot of married couples working together, in business. And it's like, that's a challenge in itself.
Yes.
Like being a married couple and having a family and then running and owning a business,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm sure you probably, that's like a challenge all in itself. I
It's
mean,
much better now. We had to set some boundaries about like when we
yeah,
can talk about things. And I mean, like if you're in an argument or if you're mad at each other, you still have to handle the business or your
right,
employees, that kind of
right.
thing. One of
Yeah,
the things that has been good for us is we have 2 separate complete jobs. Like he's
yeah,
out with our technicians during the day, he's running that part of the company, and then I'm running like the admin part of the company and
right,
dealing with the CPA and that kind of thing. So
right,
that has been super helpful. Even though one of the things that happens between us is like, you don't understand what I do all day, or you don't understand, like we have that kind of conversation. But now that
right,
we've been doing it for so long, it's really been easier. In
right.
the beginning, it was funny because my youngest son, one time, he was in some, Daniel is my husband, and his phone rang, and my son said, "I bet that's so and so," which is a customer we had been
Oh
talking
my
about.
God, really?
And I was like, "We have got to stop talking about work all the time because
Right,
you know everything that we're like. You don't know you're doing it. You
right.
live in it at home. You work at it during the day." But it's been the biggest blessing. Like I'm at a point now where I'm trying to work myself out of the business so
Yeah.
that I can be owner and not operator, and then we're going to try to do that with him. There's a bit of a staffing issue right now trying to find employees.
Yeah,
um
I heard that that was
yeah.
an issue right now. Like nobody wants to work or
Well, I
maybe
don't
it's
I
just
think
hard to find. I don't know.
Really figure it out. Like I can't. Are all these people at home on online jobs now? Like I can't. I know what the theory is. If you're into politics and stuff, I'm not into politics. I don't
No, I'm
follow the
not.
news. It makes me nervous, and so I just don't watch it. I feel like if there's an emergency, someone will call me, or there will be a siren. Like I just, it's better for me to only know the bullet points.
Yes.
But it is hard to find employees right now for whatever's going on. And so as soon as we can get that straightened out, we're going to kind of work ourselves out so
Yeah.
that we can not be operating the daily business.
Yeah. I mean, especially in like what has happened in the last couple of years. Like I watched my brother and sister-in-law, at home with the kids, running their business. They had to completely like, create an entire office for themselves in their house, and as soon as they could get back to their office, and then they just brought the kids to the office and set them up to do their online schooling in a separate part of their office. But I mean, it's been like kind of a clusterfuck. I mean, basically, but I mean, I think it's proven to everybody, especially business owners, that you can get through it. You can power through it, you can get through it, and you can make it work. My husband actually lost his job. He was furloughed and fired. But I, like you, try to find the piece of positive in it. In my mind, I was like, okay, this is your opportunity to make that transition that you would have never been able to make. You are now able to go back into mortgages and take the time to take the pay cut to be able to build the business and get into it. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to afford it, and so it was kind of a blessing in disguise. But it's all about mindset too, I mean. And I know that, and I kind of feel like I skipped over it because like you went from a teen mom to successful businesswoman. You're an entrepreneur. You guys own, like, I think I was listening to your podcast. It was like an award-winning business.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly do you guys do? Are you like allowed to share what you guys
Yeah,
do?
sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And please bring me all your business.
Right.
Our business is beyond sound and security. We do security systems like in your home or your business,
I love
sound
that.
systems. When Daniel decided to start our business, he knew from working for all these companies that one of the things we could do was combine doing security systems, but also home theater and home
Okay.
automation and
Yeah.
all the low voltage services, which is just non-electrical things. So we
I
had
love
our
that.
very best year ever, the first year of the pandemic, because everyone went home
Yeah.
and wanted to buy a TV with their stimulus check to be hung and put speakers on their back deck where they could only see their family.
Right.
Um, Wi-Fi boosters because all the kids were at home and everybody was working from home,
Right.
and it literally, we hung so many TVs in a couple of weeks we could not figure out. We'd never done that before, and then it hit us. It was the stimulus check. So I feel
Yeah.
like we manifested that. Like we worked so hard all these years,
Yeah.
and even though people were losing their jobs and doing all of that, we were going up and busy and we could not figure it out. We shut down for 1 week because we were scared. Like nobody knew what was going to happen. It was when the schools shut down, and then we
Yeah.
were like, I guess we should maybe stay home for a little bit and figure out what's
Right.
going to happen. And then by the time the end of that week, we were booked for 3 weeks.
Wow. I feel like everybody kind of froze. Like I felt
Yeah,
frozen.
I
And
did.
oh my God, I totally did. And I like I brought my job down here. We moved to Florida. We went from Michigan to Florida. And so I
Mhm.
brought my job remote before it was cool to have remote. And then like I was in radio. So my job was actually, it's pretty fickle. They flipped the station. I got put on ice and then like kind of let go. Not really even let go, but just put on ice. And I was like, okay, time to do something else. So I have a couple different side hustles that I work on. And I just remember looking at my husband and being like, I'm not doing that side hustle anymore. Like I did some personal grocery shopping. I'm like, everything just froze for us. And then he had like a knee surgery right in the beginning of it. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to this is like, this is one of those surgeries that's not an emergency, like he chose to do it, but it was going to better his life. And I'm like, please don't do it. And he got in just in the nick of time. But then, then I am nursing him back to health and have kids at home. And I think everybody has their own story of like what they went through. But it's again, like just choosing to look at the positive side. I'm like, thank God I was able to be home and you had your surgery at the time that everything got shut down, and I don't know. He's like, yeah, but this went wrong and this went wrong. I'm like, yeah, but everything else was fine, like you're fine. I'm fine. We're good. So
I
anyways,
feel like the pandemic has been an enormous blessing.
yeah.
I realize like I know how dark it has been for a lot of people.
Yes.
Overall, for me in particular, with the things that went on with politics and racial things and all that, I learned a lot about a lot of people.
Yes.
And I learned a lot about myself and what I wanted to be around when the world opened back up, and who I could trust, and who, like, I don't care if you think differently than me, but there was so much hate going on that I just feel like my husband and I are interracial marriage. My
Yeah.
kids are considered Black boys. Um, and it felt so heavy, but in a way, like, we're business owners. I don't speak out publicly on anything. And also, again, I don't watch the news because it makes me grumpy and sad and anxious. And why would I do that? But something would come across social media and I'd be like, oh, so I'm going to unfollow you because I didn't know you had that in you. I feel like
Yeah.
all of a sudden people went bananas because they were all stuck behind a computer and so anxious and
Yeah.
just communicating through that way, and you can't take it back. Like, even if you take it down, someone's already screenshot it and sent it to somebody.
Yeah.
Like,
That's true.
so I
So
felt like
true.
it was such a blessing, because I'm introverted, so please tell me to stay home.
Right.
And B, I feel like I learned so much about so many people that I thought I knew, and I'm grateful for that. Like, I'm not mad at them. I'm just
Mhm.
really grateful that that has been brought to light. And I feel like the flip side of that is there have been so many stories of good, like things that people have done for people,
Yeah.
or even the women that I coach. Some of them lost their jobs, or what they did was they went home to work and thought, oh, I could be working from home for myself
Hmm.
instead of doing data entry for the insurance company I work for or whatever. And I'm so,
Right.
like, even though we're looking for employees, I'm so glad that that part of the world had happened where people are like, oh, okay, there's a pandemic and I need to figure out who I am and what I was made to do.
Yeah, exactly. And we slowed down enough to be able to do that, to do
Right.
those things, because I think people were just so caught up in like everything
Mm-hmm.
that was going on. And I have to tell you, I don't watch the news either. And my husband used to be like, then I started watching the news with him when he was home recovering from his surgery during the pandemic. And I had so much anxiety. And then it just built up. And then he had anxiety. And then it got to the point where we were like, I'm like, no more. We're not watching news. If you want to watch news, watch it on your own time. Like, separate from me. And a lot of times he would say, well, you need to keep up with current affairs or current events and da da da. I'm like, no, like you, if there's a tornado coming towards my house, I'm sure someone will let me know. Or if like
Right.
there's a hurricane coming, I think I will find out, like someone's going to tell me, someone's going to call or text me. I don't feel like the news, it's so hard to be a mom anyways, and to stay like in your zone and make sure that you're stable and like you've got mental clarity and and you're making good choices and all that kind of stuff, and you have to be like a solid foundation for your kids, or try to, not to say that I don't lose my shit sometimes, because I do, but like the news is just off-putting, it's just like offsetting, and if I can just cut that out, like I'm okay with that. And I did the same thing. There were plenty of social media people that I was like, oh, okay, well, we're not following that person this time, and they've even come up in my feed again. And I'm like, no, it's the same negativity, the same rhetoric that I'm just not interested in being a part of. Because I learned during the pandemic too, that I ended up on a spiritual awakening a little bit and started this personal growth development thing, which
Mm-hmm.
is another reason why I wanted to touch base with you, because it's like right there, like that just was like, I was vibing with it, because I think the other part of it is you went from, teen mom to successful businesswoman, you found the love of your life, you guys, started your family, and you're like an author, you're a coach, you started a podcast, you brought together like a collaborative group of women that are all working together to help each other all be the best of each other. Like you guys are all trying to highlight each other's best and, bring each other up to like level each other up, and then you're now helping other women, which I think is awesome. Because I think, and in one of your podcasts, you said something like, I'm not a girl's girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to like, quote you, but you're like, I'm not a girl's girl. I'm like, me neither. And then when you said what you said, and you can share with everybody, I was like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. Okay, I get it. And I realize now that some of my closest friends that I've hung on to in Michigan, they're not girly girls either, but they're still women, and I enjoy being around them. It's because they don't partake in drama either.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. And if there is drama or there's something uncomfortable, we talk about it. And I was listening to one of your episodes and I was like, yes, we all need to be on that page, like just because you're doing awesome doesn't mean that I can't be awesome too, like, and we need to just celebrate each other that we're both being awesome.
And if you're being awesome, then that's proof that I can also be awesome.
Right.
If you can see that in other women. What I said was, I always, growing up, I always thought, and you'll hear this from a lot of women, like, I only hung out with guys. That wasn't the case for me. I did have best girlfriends, but I always thought I'm just not a girl's girl. Like,
Yeah.
I always was on the outside of a group. You always want to be invited, obviously, but then I never really wanted to go. I just wanted to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I did not hang out with the group of friends at school that I really could have belonged to, because I felt like it was fake and drama and all of that.
Yeah.
And then when you have a baby so young, you realize what's important. Also, you have to go to bed at 8:30 because you're
Yeah.
so
Right.
tired. But
Oh
like,
my God.
really, you kind of figure out, like, that is so petty. These things are so dramatic. I don't want to be, brought into it.
Yeah.
But really, what I love is to see other women succeed. Like, I feel like that's evidence, number one, and I truly feel happy. And I feel like that is not the case with a lot of women, especially women that I work with. They feel jealousy. And I think that what jealousy tells you is that that's something you want to work toward.
Yeah.
Like, when you're jealous of someone else buying a house and you just would love to buy a house. Okay, well, that feeling is not, I'm mad that Gretchen bought a house. It's, I wish I could do that. And the next step should be, what should I do to get that ball rolling?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of, ooh, I hate her. She's always blah, blah,
Right.
blah. Like, whatever
Right.
the
Right.
narrative
Right.
because the narrative you make up around somebody can grow so big
Yeah.
and so huge. And then you've missed the whole message in,
Yeah.
let me be happy for her. And maybe the universe will slide me some a little bit of
Right.
it.
Exactly. And